Imagine opening your kitchen cupboard during a long power outage and realizing that nearly everything inside depends on something you no longer have. Frozen food needs electricity, fresh food begins to spoil, restaurants are closed, roads may be blocked, and clean water might be limited. In that moment, food is no longer about flavor, convenience, or variety. It becomes a question of energy, storage, preparation, and survival. The best emergency food is not necessarily the food that lasts the longest. It is the food that fits the situation, provides useful nutrition, can be prepared with the resources available, and remains safe enough to eat when normal life has been interrupted. Survival food can mean many different things. For someone sheltering, at home it might be bags of rice, dried beans, and canned vegetables. For a hiker lost in the wilderness, it could be nuts, dried meat, or an emergency ration bar carried in a backpack. Soldiers may depend on complete packaged meals, while polar explorers, sailors, and long-distance travelers have historically relied on dense foods designed to resist spoilage. Each type solves a different problem, and everyone comes with a trade-off. Rice is one of the most familiar survival staples in the world. It is inexpensive, easy to measure, and capable of feeding many people from a relatively small storage space. White rice is especially useful for long-term storage because most of its natural oils have been removed during processing. Those oils are nutritious, but they can also become rancid over time. Brown rice contains more fiber and naturally occurring nutrients, yet its higher oil content gives it a much shorter practical storage life. When kept in its original packaging in an ordinary cupboard, white rice may remain usable for several years if protected from insects and moisture. When sealed in an oxygen-reduced container and stored in a cool, dry, dark place, it can last far longer, sometimes for decades. Storage conditions matter as much as the food itself. Heat speeds up deterioration, moisture encourages mold, and oxygen allows insects and chemical changes to damage the grain. Rice provides carbohydrates, which the body converts into energy. It is filling, mild in flavor, and easy to combine with almost anything. The main disadvantage is that uncooked rice requires both water and heat. In an emergency where fuel is scarce, cooking a large pot may be more difficult than expected. Rice also lacks enough protein, fat, and certain vitamins to serve as a complete diet by itself. It works best as a foundation rather than the entire meal. Dried beans solve part of that nutritional problem. Beans provide protein, fiber, carbohydrates, and minerals, making them one of the most valuable foods for home emergency storage. When paired with grains, such as rice, they create a more balanced combination of essential amino acids than either food provides alone. This is one reason rice and beans have supported communities across many cultures for generations. Dry beans can remain edible for years, especially when kept away from heat, oxygen pests, and humidity. Older beans may not necessarily become unsafe, but they often take longer to soften. After enough time, some may remain hard, even after hours of cooking. Soaking them before cooking can reduce preparation time, but soaking requires additional water and planning. Like rice, dried beans depend on fuel. A bag of beans may look like an ideal emergency resource until someone discovers that boiling it for hours consumes a large amount of gas, wood, or electricity. Canned beans offer a faster alternative. They are already cooked and can be eaten directly from the container if necessary. The liquid inside can also be useful when water is limited, although it may contain a significant amount of salt. Canned products are heavier and occupy more space, but they remove much of the preparation burden. This difference illustrates an important principle of emergency planning: the food. With the longest shelf life is not always the food that is easiest to use. Canned food is one of the most practical categories for short and medium-term emergencies. Meat, fish, beans, fruit, vegetables, soup, and complete meals can all be sealed in durable containers. The canning process uses heat to destroy harmful microorganisms and creates a sealed environment that slows future contamination. Many commercially canned foods remain safe beyond their printed quality dates, when the container is undamaged and the food has been stored properly, though taste, texture, color, and nutritional quality may decline with age. Low-acid canned foods, such as meat and many vegetables, generally maintain good quality for several years. High-acid foods, including many tomato products and fruits, tend to change more quickly because their acidity can gradually react with the container and affect texture or flavor. Regardless of age, cans that are swollen, leaking, badly rusted, or sharply dented around their seams should be treated with suspicion. A sealed container is only useful while the seal remains intact. The great advantage of canned food is readiness. Many items can be eaten cold, eliminating the need for cooking fuel. Canned foods also provide variety, including protein and moisture. Their disadvantages are weight, bulk, and waste. Carrying several cans on foot is exhausting, and empty containers must be handled afterward. They are therefore excellent for staying at home or traveling by vehicle, but less attractive for a lightweight emergency bag. Dried meat takes a different approach to preservation. Instead of sealing food with much of its moisture still inside, drying removes the water microorganisms need to grow. Jerky is the best known modern example. Thin strips of meat are seasoned and dehydrated until they become dense, chewy, and lightweight. Properly prepared commercial jerky can remain stable for months, while carefully packaged products may last longer. Once opened, however, exposure to humid air can shorten its useful life. Dried meat is valuable because it provides concentrated protein without requiring cooking. It can be eaten while walking, working, or traveling. Salt and seasonings improve flavor and may contribute to preservation, but they can also increase thirst. Jerky usually contains little carbohydrate, so it does not deliver the same rapid energy as grains or sugar. Some varieties are also low in fat, which means they are not as calorie-dense as their small size might suggest. Traditional dried meat should not be confused with meat that has simply been left to dry under unsafe conditions. Successful preservation depends on temperature, sanitation, moisture removal, and proper handling. If the center remains too moist, or the meat becomes contaminated during preparation, drying alone may not make it safe. Commercial products offer consistency, while homemade versions demand careful technique. Hardtack is one of the simplest survival foods ever used. It is essentially a very dry biscuit made from flour, water, and sometimes salt. For sailors and soldiers, its value came from its resistance to spoilage. When baked until nearly all moisture was removed and stored away from dampness and insects, hardtack could last for years. Some historical examples survived for remarkably long periods, though survival of the object does not always mean pleasant eating. Fresh hardtack is already hard. Old hardtack can become so tough that biting it directly may damage a tooth. People often softened it in water, coffee, broth, or stew. It could also be crushed and mixed into other dishes. Its nutrition is basic, consisting mainly of carbohydrates with a small amount of protein from the flour. It contains little fat and limited vitamins, but those same limitations help it remain stable. Fat improves flavor and calories, yet it also becomes rancid more easily. Hardtack demonstrates the difference between food designed for enjoyment and food designed for endurance. It is cheap, compact, and made from ordinary ingredients. At the same time, it is dry, repetitive, and nutritionally incomplete. A person could use it to maintain energy for a limited period, but living on it alone would eventually create serious dietary problems. Pemmican was developed to provide more energy in a smaller, more balanced form. Traditionally associated with indigenous peoples of North America and later adopted by explorers and fur traders, pemmican combines dried lean meat with rendered fat. Some versions also include dried berries. The meat provides protein, while the fat supplies a highly concentrated source of calories. This made pemmican especially valuable in cold environments and during long journeys where carrying capacity was limited. Properly made pemmican contains very little moisture. The dried meat is pounded into a fine texture and mixed with purified rendered fat, creating a dense food that can be eaten as it is or added to hot water and other ingredients. Its shelf life varies widely depending on preparation, packaging, temperature, and the purity of the fat. Under cool, dry conditions, carefully produced pemmican can last for years. Poorly rendered fat or remaining moisture can cause it to spoil much sooner. Its greatest strength is energy density. Fat contains more than twice the calories per gram of protein or carbohydrate, so pemmican can provide substantial energy without much weight. Its disadvantages are strong flavor, heavy richness, and the difficulty of making it correctly. Modern homemade recipes sometimes add ingredients that improve taste but reduce stability. Pemmican is also not ideal for every climate. High heat can soften or melt the fat and make storage messy. Military-style MREs, or meals ready to eat, are built around convenience and completeness. Unlike a single staple, an MRE normally contains several components, which may include an entree, crackers or bread, a spread, a dessert, a beverage mix, seasonings, and accessories. Some packages include a flameless heater that warms the meal through a chemical reaction activated by water. MREs are designed to remain usable under demanding conditions, but they are not immortal. Their storage life depends heavily on temperature. Kept cool, they may maintain acceptable quality for several years. Stored in intense heat, they deteriorate much faster. The packaging protects the contents from moisture, oxygen, and physical damage, yet prolonged heat can change flavor, texture, and nutritional quality, even when the pouch still looks sealed. The main advantage is that nearly everything needed for one meal is contained in one package. Little preparation is required, and the food can usually be eaten without heating. MREs also provide a mixture of carbohydrates, protein, fat, and electrolytes intended for physically active people. However, they are bulky compared with basic dry staples, produce a considerable amount of packaging waste, and can be expensive for routine storage. Their calorie and sodium levels may also be more appropriate for strenuous activity than for someone sitting indoors during a short power failure. Freeze-dried meals remove water through a more advanced process. Food is first frozen, and then the surrounding pressure is lowered so that the ice changes directly into vapor. Because much of the original structure remains, freeze-dried food can return closer to its original texture after water is added. This makes the method useful for complete meals, fruit, vegetables, meat, dairy products, and even desserts. When sealed in strong packaging with very little oxygen and kept in suitable conditions, many freeze-dried foods can remain usable for decades. This makes them attractive for long-term emergency reserves. They are also extremely light, which is why backpackers and expedition teams often carry them. Preparation is usually simple. Open the pouch, add hot water, stir, wait, and eat. But their strengths depend on having water. A lightweight pouch is less helpful when every drop must be carried or purified. Hot water improves rehydration and texture, so fuel may also be needed. Freeze-dried meals tend to cost more than rice, beans, or canned food, and some contain high levels of sodium. Their portions can appear large in the package while providing fewer calories than a person expects during hard physical work. They are excellent for mobility and long storage, but they should be matched with a realistic water plan. Emergency ration bars are made for situations where simplicity matters more than culinary satisfaction. They are commonly packed into lifeboats, emergency kits, vehicles, and evacuation bags. These bars are dense blocks of baked ingredients, formulated to provide a predictable amount of energy in a compact form. Many have a mildly sweet flavor and a dry, crumbly texture. A sealed ration bar may have a shelf life of around 5 years, depending on the product and storage conditions. Some are designed to tolerate temperature changes better than ordinary snack foods. They require no cooking and usually no water for preparation. The packaging may also divide the bar into separate portions so that a person can control consumption over several days. Their advantage is reliability. They can remain in a bag or vehicle and be eaten immediately during an evacuation. Their weakness is limited nutrition and variety. Most of their energy comes from carbohydrates and fat, with relatively little protein, fiber, or micronutrient diversity. Eating the same dry bar repeatedly can also become difficult when stress reduces appetite. They are best understood as short-term emergency fuel, not a complete long-term food system. Nuts are another compact source of energy. Almonds, peanuts, walnuts, cashews, and similar foods provide fat, protein, fiber, and useful minerals. They require no preparation and fit easily into small containers. Nut butters offer many of the same benefits in a form that is easier to spread, mix, or eat with a spoon. The problem is that nuts contain natural oils, and those oils eventually oxidize and develop rancid flavors. Their shelf life is therefore shorter than that of white rice, hardtack, or professionally freeze-dried food. Sealed packaging, low temperatures, and protection from light can help them last longer. In hot environments, deterioration happens more quickly. Nuts are useful for evacuation bags, camping trips, and rotating home supplies because they are nutritious and familiar. They should be replaced regularly rather than forgotten for decades. Allergies are another serious consideration. A food that is energy-dense for one person may be dangerous for another, so emergency stores must reflect the needs of the people expected to use them. Honey has a special reputation among long-lasting foods. Its low moisture content, acidity, and high concentration of sugar create an environment where many microorganisms struggle to grow. When kept sealed and protected from contamination, honey can remain stable for an extremely long time. It may crystallize, darken, or change in flavor, but crystallization alone does not mean it has spoiled. Gentle warming can return crystallized honey to a more liquid state. As a survival food, honey provides fast energy and improves the taste of bland staples. It can be mixed into porridge, spread on hard bread, added to drinks, or used in small amounts to make repetitive meals easier to eat. It is also dense and does not require refrigeration. However, honey is almost entirely sugar. It contains only small amounts of other nutrients and should not be mistaken for a complete food. Containers can leak, glass jars can break, and heat can change its quality. Honey should also never be given to infants under 1 year old because of the risk associated with bacterial spores their digestive systems are not ready to handle. Powdered foods cover a broad category: powdered milk, powdered eggs, drink mixes, dehydrated soup bases, protein powders, and powdered meal replacements all remove much of the water that would otherwise encourage spoilage. Their storage life depends on ingredients and packaging. Non-fat powdered milk generally keeps longer than whole milk powder because it contains less fat. Powdered eggs and dairy products can last for years when commercially sealed and stored in cool, dry conditions, but their quality declines more quickly after opening. Powders are efficient because they reduce weight and volume. A small amount can add protein, calories, flavor, or nutrients to rice, oats, soups, and baked foods. Some can be prepared with cold water, while others perform better with warm water or cooking. They are also useful for creating variety from a limited collection of staples. Their main vulnerability is moisture. Once humid air enters the package, powder can clump, develop unpleasant flavors, or support microbial growth. Strong containers and careful resealing are essential. Powders also depend on clean water, and some people find reconstituted milk or eggs less appealing than fresh versions. In an emergency, acceptance matters. Food has little value if stress, unfamiliar texture, or poor taste makes people unwilling to eat enough of it. No single survival food is best in every situation. Rice and beans are inexpensive and efficient for feeding a household, but they need water, fuel, and time. Canned food is ready to eat and familiar, yet it is heavy. Jerky, nuts, and ration bars are portable, though their shelf lives and nutritional balance are limited. Hardtack survives because almost everything enjoyable and perishable has been removed from it. Pemmican delivers dense energy but requires careful preparation. MREs offer convenience, freeze-dried meals offer low weight and long storage, honey supplies quick energy, and powdered products add flexibility. The most dependable emergency supply is therefore not a mountain of one miracle food. It is a mixture selected around realistic conditions. A home reserve can include dry staples for longer disruptions, canned meals for the first days, portable food for evacuation, and comfort items that encourage people to eat during stressful moments. It should also include enough safe water, a way to prepare food without normal utilities, and tools such as a manual can opener. Storage is not a one-time action. Packages must be inspected, older items should be used and replaced, and food should be protected from heat, moisture, pests, and sunlight. Personal needs matter as well. Children, older adults, people with allergies, and those with medical dietary restrictions may require very different supplies. Survival food is often presented as something strange, military, or extreme. In reality, much of it is ordinary food used with greater planning. The goal is not to predict every disaster or live indefinitely from sealed containers. It is to create enough time, energy, and stability to make better decisions when normal systems fail. The right food cannot solve every emergency, but it can turn hunger from an immediate crisis into a manageable problem. And in a true survival situation, that difference can shape everything that happens next.